Unsolved.
JonBenet case, 3 questions to consider. In the old days, I would have made a separate video for each one of these topics. But since each one would have been quite short, I've combined these 3 questions into this episode. So the first question is, should John Ramsey have found JonBenet's body that afternoon? If John knew where her body was, when Linda Arndt suggested he go looking around, he had a decision to make. Should he find her body or not? And so this episode explores that possibility. The second question, does the ransom note provide a clue when it was written? Well, if the ransom note was written before JonBenet died, then it was most likely an intruder. And if the ransom note was written after, then it was probably either John or Patsy that killed JonBenet, or maybe Burke. And then the third question, why was it written from the middle of Patsy's notebook? I don't know if everybody realizes that, but it was ripped out from the middle of her notebook. And so we'll explore a little bit about that in this episode. I believe John Ramsey knew where JonBenet's body was that whole morning because he killed her. And so he had to ask himself a question when Linda Arndt asked him to go look around the house. Does he go and find her body? Or does he avoid her body? And I think he was beyond almost hysterical, even though outwardly he might not have shown many signs of stress. I think his heart was pounding hard. He couldn't stand it any longer. And so he had to think to himself still, should I find her body? And I think all the questions about it are, it's only going to provide good things to find her body, because he's going to contaminate the crime scene. He's going to open the door, he's going to remove the tape, he's going to touch her body, he's going to carry it upstairs and put it on the living room floor, he's going to throw a throw blanket over top of her. And so there was no downside. But I definitely believe that he thought about if he should find her body. I could find only 2 very minor things in the ransom note itself that indicate that it was written after JonBenet died. And then one kind of thing that suggests that it was written after her death. And I'll go into that in a second. But first is I'll call between 8 and 10 tomorrow. There's no reason to write tomorrow, because I'll call between 8 and 10 a.m. That's what it should have said. But it doesn't say that. It says tomorrow. So that suggests it was not meant for the 26th. The call was meant for the 27th. And there's that. And then the multiple times in the ransom note that it talks about JonBenet dying. Beheading, executed, she dies, she dies, she dies. this kind of indicates that she was dead already. Because why would you mention this so many times? I think like a real ransom note, it would just say we're going to kill her. Or, it wouldn't go over and over and over. I think people understand that's what's going to happen. So that kind of indicates it was after her death. But the thing that indicates that it was written after her death is the placement. It being placed on the spiral staircase in the bottom of the stairs. The ransom note should have been either left on the counter where someone could see it, or it should have been taken up to JonBenet's room and left there somewhere. It does not make any sense to be put on the stairs where the intruder would have to step over the ransom note. So that indicates that it was written after her death to me. Alright, this is not Patsy Ramsey's notepad. Okay, it's just an example. And then on the 13th page, it had some of Patsy's writing on it. And then the way they knew that was kind of from these little pieces here. They counted, and I guess there was 12 of them. And so this was the 13th one. And then the 14th one had some of Patsy's writing on it. And then the 15th one had some more writing by Patsy. And then the 16th one had more writing on it from Patsy. And then the 17th one was missing. The 17th one through the 25th one. And the way they knew that is because of these little pieces that are left behind when you tear out a sheet of paper. Okay, and then on the 26th one, it said Mr. and Mrs. and then had a line, and it looks like that was going to be an R. I didn't do a very good slash there, but you get my point, I hope. Okay, and then this 26th page, I believe, was thrown in the trash, and they found this page in the trash. That, or it never was removed from the notepad. I'm trying to find that out. Okay, and then the 27th page was removed, and it was the ransom note. And then the 26th page, and then the 28th page, I misspoke a second ago, and the 29th page. So 27, 28, and 29 were the ransom note. And again, it was torn out, and so they could see the tear out along the side here. I didn't tear out the pages. And then it went a couple pages beyond that of paper, up to 32, I believe. And then I'm not sure what happens after that. So I'd like to hear from you, the viewers, what you think about this. What does this indicate? And here's kind of my opinion about this. I think if John or Patsy wrote this ransom note, they were nervous and they were trying to get things done before the morning. And what this shows is how casual they wrote this ransom note. They just got Patsy's notepad, went to the first available piece of paper, sheet of paper, and started writing the ransom note. And then they might have made a mistake and tore out a sheet and discarded that. But they wrote it right there. And to me, if I was writing a ransom note, and I'm not a criminal, I would use, it's a big deal. I'm writing a ransom note, a phony ransom note, or a real one. I would have went to the back of the pad and wrote from there. I would have got a brand new sheet of paper from somewhere. I wouldn't have just picked up a pad of paper lying there and just start writing in the first available sheet of paper. So this points so much like either Patsy or John wrote the phony ransom note. Either Patsy went right to writing this ransom note, or John knew this was Patsy's notepad, and so he used that, and he spent some time disguising his writing. And one of the reasons I think it's John, I've said this before in an earlier episode, if you look at all the little A's in the notepad, in the ransom note, you'll see they're like a typed A on a computer. They're oddly written. And Patsy has written an A like that before. But you can see whoever wrote those A's, they were not comfortable writing them because they all look different. Every little A is not written the same. And if it was someone that wrote a little A like that, they would have written them more closely alike than they are in the ransom note.
You have been watching a Nancy Drew show. Please subscribe and I'll solve this crime.
Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. And please leave some comments. I want to know what you're thinking, what you think. Were there other things that you noticed on these 3 topics? I enjoy reading most of your comments. I don't really like the ones that say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't enjoy those at all. But it's fun or entertaining to me to get a response back to my videos and hear what people think. So I'll see you the next time. Tomorrow night, the Zodiac Killer case. See ya.